If your brand is pretty active on Twitter, but you're not getting a lot of engagement, or you just want to amplify your message, this is when you may want to consider a followers campaign. Now, the definition is pretty self-explanatory because the main goal of this campaign type is to try to get as many new followers for your Twitter account as possible. So in this video, we're going to cover how you can set up a followers campaign. We'll go over where this campaign type can appear in all the different locations on Twitter. We'll cover how the bidding strategy works for this campaign, as well as which ad formats are allowed for a followers campaign. The first thing I want to go over is where the ads for your follower campaigns can appear on Twitter. The most common placement, and I have it highlighted right here, is going to be the Who to Follow section that shows up on your Twitter home timeline. For some reason, I'm getting promoted a home services account, but you see the format of the ad is just showing the Twitter account's profile image, just the name, the Twitter handle. Underneath, it's calling out that it's promoted, so you know it's an ad, and then the Follow CTA button, just like we see with some of the organic results below it. The second place where your follower ads could appear is going to be in your main home timeline. If I scroll down a little bit, we see a McDonald's ad. If we look on the bottom of that tweet, we see it's promoted. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find a follower ad within my home timeline, but just showing you the placement. Your ad will not be formatted like this. You will not have a large image or video. We'll get to ad formats later towards the end while we're creating the actual campaign. But that is the second placement. And as I go up top and search for PPC, these search results are the third place where your follower ads can appear. As you can see, they're recommending some people to follow at the top, so your ad could appear right here. And then if we go over to the People tab, we're seeing some of the same top results, but there could be promoted accounts showing up here as well. So now that we know the placements of our ads, let's go in and start creating a follower campaign so we can get a full understanding of how this campaign works, what we can target, and what our ads will look like. Okay, I'm in the Paid Media Pros Twitter ads account. I'm on the main overview screen. Typically, this is where we would see all our campaigns laid out, but we're not running anything for ourselves. But to create a new campaign, we need to click on the Create Campaign button, which is in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Like most of the main paid media platforms that are out there, we have to choose a campaign objective. And this one is pretty straightforward. Under the middle consideration column, we need to choose followers. Click Next. First, I'm going to name the campaign. If I want to, I can change the daily budget. They automatically put in $100. And if you want to set a total lifetime budget, you could do that as well. There's your option to have a specific start date and end date. And if we click on Advanced, you can choose how you want your spend to be paced. The default option is going to be standard. Now, depending on your spend, and of course, it's also going to depend on the reach that you're getting depending on your targeting settings. With standard pacing, Twitter is going to try to spread out the budget evenly throughout the day. If you switch it to accelerated, Twitter will try to spend your money to your target audience as fast as possible. I'm good leaving it at standard, so I'm just going to click Next. First, let me go up and name my ad group. And then you have optional settings at the ad group level for a different start and end date and a different ad group budget. But moving on, I'm going to scroll down a little bit. We see that the goal of this ad group is followers because that is the campaign objective that we have selected. If I try to highlight it or change it, I can't. That goal is set in place. If I'm going down a little bit, we see that we pay by follower. This is another setting that we can't change. That is the only goal of this campaign type. If your goal really isn't to get as many followers as possible, then you should not choose this campaign objective to begin with. But bumping up to bid strategy, our two options are going to be auto bid, which is the default option. And as you can see, there isn't any additional step I need to do with that bid strategy. But if we switch it to target cost, you can try to tell Twitter to maintain your target cost per result with the bid amount that you enter within this field. I haven't chosen my specific target audience for this ad group yet. So most likely that bid suggestion is going to change as you start adjusting your targeting. And while I'm telling Twitter I would like a $2.25 average cost per follower, it doesn't mean you're locked into that amount. You're just giving Twitter information of what you would like that average cost per result to be to help Twitter optimize towards those results. Again, it is not a guarantee, so don't expect those exact results. I have no problem starting off with auto bid. Let the campaign run for a little bit, and if you're seeing that your cost per results are much higher than you expected, you can always go back in, edit your ad group settings, and set a specific target cost to try to lower those numbers if you feel they are too high. But next, I'm going to scroll down to demographics. And I am not going to spend a ton of time on all of these targeting options because I did create a video about Twitter targeting options, and you can get a full in-depth look of what Twitter offers by watching this video right here. The first targeting section is demographics. We see gender, age, location, which defaulted to my country, and then the optional setting of language. And then after demographics, we see the user must also match one of the following things below. First, you can choose your operating system. You can get down to specific device model and carrier. Next, you will see specific custom audiences in Twitter. And these audiences you can create up within the tool section we see in the top navigation for certain app activities, your customer lists, and website activity. Website activity is most commonly going to be your page visit retargeting audiences. So we had a client once who wanted to boost their Twitter followers to try and get more organic engagement. And the cheapest cost per results that they had were focusing on recent customers or users on their newsletter list or someone who performed higher level conversion actions on the website. The cost per follower or cost per result was a lot more affordable because people were already familiar with this brand. If they bought something or subscribed to a newsletter, they already had some sort of love or affinity for the brand. So it was easier for them to want to follow them on Twitter. I understand why some people think that could be a waste of money because you're not going after just pure new customers. But that wasn't their goal of their campaign. The goal of their followers campaign was to start building a bigger community on Twitter. And it was easier for them to start doing that with users who were already familiar or in love with the brand. And once they started doing that, then they started to get more organic engagement that leads to more sharing, more retweeting, thus spreading the news to a newer audience later on. So it still worked in getting new customers, but they started with their current customers first. Just one strategy to think about. Moving on to the other targeting features, you can target by specific keywords, follower lookalikes, and that is not targeting an account's followers. It's targeting users who perform similar behaviors as that account's followers. We see specific interests, movies and TV shows, events, conversation topics. There's a ton in each of these sections, so again, check out that video I shared before to get a full understanding of what some of the options are. For now, I'm just going to add a few follower lookalikes just so I have some deeper targeting options within this ad group. I'm going to target the accounts I know, PPC Hero and PPC Kirk. Good enough for me, so I'm going to move on. Next, we get to placements, which we pretty much talked about right in the beginning. Your ads must appear on the home timelines or just within the main timeline itself. Ads do appear on timelines within profiles, and there also is a who to follow section on users' profiles as well. So if you want, you could uncheck this box, but I'm going to leave it. And next, we get to the creatives portion. And I'm glad Twitter has this warning because it's important to know this before creating any of your follower ads. Twitter recommends, and I completely agree with this, to use text-only tweets for your followers' campaigns. That is because when your ad is serving to users on Twitter, Twitter will automatically add the follower card to your ad creative. And let me select one tweet really quick, and then we can preview it. So initially, that is going to be my text ad. Now, I just said that Twitter is going to add the follower card automatically. That card will contain the image that's on your Twitter profile background, not the user profile. That's the one we see next to our name currently in this preview. So again, just the profile background header image. Our bio will also appear, and then the last element will be the follow call to action button that we saw in the who to follow sections. And those elements will appear no matter which placements our followers' ads are showing. Now, I just selected an organic tweet that we already had created, and this example is not the greatest. And honestly, I should not use this tweet. That is because any tweets that contain an image or a video in a followers campaign will not have that image or video show up the way you think it will be. That is because any tweet that has an image or a video in a followers ad will not display that image or video properly. Twitter will only show that media as a pic.twitter URL link. That's just the way the followers ad template is within Twitter. So in the one I selected below, there's an image in it. It's probably not the best one to use because I just selected the first organic tweet I saw. So I could go over, see this little pen quill right here, and I can create a new tweet to use specifically for this campaign. I typed in my new text for this specific tweet. I'm not going to add a photo, video, definitely not using a carousel. And then I can go up to the menu up here and then save it as a draft. I'm going to save the draft. Now we know it's saved. So let me hop back into the ads manager. Now that we're back, I'm going to change organic tweets to scheduled tweet. In this case, that's just how I saved it. If you have different tweets that you've used already in other ads, you can go back up, select promoted only tweets if you want to reuse any of those. It all depends on how you're creating them and where you're saving them, depending on if it's an organic campaign or a paid campaign. So in my case, mine's a scheduled tweet that I just saved. So now I can select that option. I'm good with that, so we can click next. One last chance to check out the campaign. My ad group settings looks good to me so far, just to start off, and then we can launch the campaign. And now we're back on the main campaign screen where we were when we started this demo. And now that the campaign is live, I want to focus on the 3 columns on the right and what they mean for a follower's campaign. A followers campaign is pretty much a cost per action campaign. You will pay for every follower that your campaign receives. The results are going to be the numbers of followers your campaign received. The result rate is like your conversion rate for the campaign, and then your cost per result. Looking at your total spend, factoring in the number of results or followers you're getting from this campaign to see how much each of those new followers are costing you. So if you're seeing that your cost per result or cost per follower is higher than you want it to be, remember I have it set up as auto bid for now, I can go back into my ad group, edit it, lower my target cost per follower to try to get those numbers down. Even if you already have a target cost bid strategy in place, you can always adjust that dollar amount to either increase it if you want to try to get more exposure or decrease it if your cost per results are too high. The beauty of this campaign is that you're in more control than you think. It's up to the advertiser to determine what they feel a new follower is worth to them. If you feel that a new follower is worth $2, it's pretty easy then to figure out what type of budget you should have. Because then you can start looking at how many followers do I want per day. If you want 5 followers per day at $2 a follower, then think about starting your campaign off at a $10 a day daily budget with a target cost of $2 per new follower. It's not going to be exact, but it's a good starting point to go off of, and then you can always make adjustments later on. And that's how easy it is to set up a followers campaign on Twitter. I will always admit, this campaign type isn't for everyone. The main benefit we have seen is really to try to increase brand awareness and to hopefully increase future organic growth. I have never seen a followers campaign lead to a ton of sales. That's not the goal of this campaign. Consider a followers campaign to try to grow your user base to keep increasing your organic engagement and reach.
Thanks for watching our video. If you found it useful, give us a thumbs up below.
We release a new video at least once a week, so if you want to see more from the Paid Media Pros channel, be sure to subscribe.